Welcome in, everyone, to a special episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football videos. This time, we're going to cover Dynasty Fantasy Football impact of NFL head coaching hires. They're finally all done, so we can cover it. And this all comes from a Patreon question from my Discord. Can you give us an overview of the recent head coaching hires, and what do you think they will mean to our main fantasy assets? Maybe pick the winners and losers. I decided it deserved the whole episode. We're going to do them in chronological order from when they were hired. So let's jump into the first one. Patriots. Jerod Mayo. Well, this one is total black box. We have no idea, anything, nothing at all about what Jerod Mayo will bring to the table. He's just 37 years old, no coordinator experience. I'm not optimistic that there are going to be wholesale changes to the Patriots, that we're going to see a different team. I'm not optimistic of that. But the biggest change is that Bill Belichick is no longer the Patriots GM, which is very good because Bill Belichick has not been a good GM for the last 10 years. So I'm holding out, reserving judgment. At the end of the day, what current assets on the Patriots do we really care about? Like, there aren't any. Maybe Ramondre Stevenson, that's it. So we'll have to see what they do in the offseason. There's really no one to judge. So, yeah, it's kind of my thoughts on Jerod Mayo. Next one. There's more to say here. Antonio Pierce. They officially made him the head coach interim. I believe he went 5-4. I like this hire, but not after what's happened since they made the hire. Cliff Kingsbury was their first choice for offensive coordinator. For some insane reason, they saw what he did in the NFL, and we were like, we need more of that. Then they hired someone even worse in Luke Getsy. Incompetent Getsy. I think he was the worst offensive coordinator in the league over the last 2 years. Literally the worst. I have no idea why he deserves another job. He was absolutely awful. Awful in every way. He ruined Justin Fields, and I would love to see them just trade for Justin Fields and reunite that disastrous combo. So, while Pierce, I like. Unfortunately, I think they kind of got backed into hiring him. It felt like they couldn't move on after the Rich Bisaccia thing 2 years ago. Same mistake twice. But is Antonio Pierce really a great head coach? Probably not. So, yeah, I'm not optimistic, really. And the hiring of Luke Getsy, yeah, I have a bad feeling about the Raiders. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league next year. Titans, Brian Callahan. I don't hate it. Callahan was Joe Burrow's offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. Didn't call plays. Callahan seems hyped about Will Levis, which is good. He better be, because Will Levis is going to be his quarterback next year. I don't really get it, though. Like, is Callahan really an upgrade over Mike Vrabel? The only upgrade is that they're moving away from the Vrabel-style run-first team to a more pass-friendly scheme. That could be good for fantasy. Levis is going to... I think we're going to see a lot. So think Sam Howell 2023, right? Levis is going to get a chance to run the show fully. If he doesn't do well, he'll be replaced after his second season. But he'll get a chance to run the show 2024 in the Callahan offense. I also expect the Titans to add someone significant. They have the 7th overall pick. If Brock Bowers were there, would they consider him? Roma Dunze, would they consider him? Maybe. They also have the 38th overall pick. I've seen them mock the receiver there. Xavier Legette, I saw recently. Lad McConkey, maybe. T. Higgins is also out there with the Brian Callahan connection. For me, Callahan is going to give Levis the best chance to succeed. If Levis can't do it under Callahan, he's not going to. So I do like it for Will Levis. For everyone else, they're going to be new additions to the offense. So we'll see what that means. Treylon Burks is probably dead in the water because he's going to be replaced. He's going to be at best the 3, if not even lower on the depth chart. Jim Harbaugh, Chargers. Well, there's no question that Harbaugh was the prize of the coaching style. He's won everywhere. He won at 49ers, 44-19. Won national championship at Michigan. And he's done it all without a quarterback like Justin Herbert. He's never had a quarterback anywhere near as good as Justin Herbert. So, of all the players on all the teams, Justin Herbert is the biggest winner of the coaching cycle because he finally has a serious head coach. He'd never had a serious head coach. He had Anthony Lynn, who was a joke, and then Brandon Staley, who was an even bigger joke. So Herbert's a big winner. As for Keenan Allen, I think he'll stay with Harbaugh in tow. Quentin Johnston, I don't know. I mean, if he still has his spot on the depth chart, I think Harbaugh could get the most out of him. But could they add other weapons? Sure. I mean, they do have the 5th overall pick. Could be a destination for Bowers. But we'll see. I will say one thing. I don't see Austin Eckler being back in Jim Harbaugh's offense. Harbaugh liked, kind of power, a lot of run volume. I just don't see Eckler as a fit here. So Eckler's gone. I don't know if that's a winner or a loser, but I don't think Eckler's going to be back. Panthers, Dave Canales, Buccaneers offensive coordinator. He worked wonders with Baker Mayfield in 2023. There is no doubt about that. So if you wanted a choice to work on Bryce Young, this is the choice. Great quarterback coach, experience as a quarterback coach, then experience as an offensive coordinator. He received a 6-year deal, which is showing the Panthers have to overpay to get anyone to go there because of David Tepper's incompetence. They're committed to Dave Canales. They have nothing to work with, though. No first-round pick. So I don't know how they're going to fix it. But if they can bring in some weapons, I have confidence that I'm not saying that Bryce Young is going to be amazing because they're not going to be able to even put up anything less than a bottom third offense around him. But maybe they can be 25th best instead of dead last. Like, that would be my hope. But I do like Dave Canales as a head coach candidate. And if Bryce Young is just as bad in 2024 as he was in 2023, it's probably over for him. He needs to show something. Falcons, Raheem Morris. Now, usually I prefer the offensive-minded head coach because if you hire a defensive-minded head coach, your OC gets poached, and then you kind of have to keep finding another one. But in this case, I actually kind of like this hire. First of all, the nature of the Falcons. They're a defensive-first team, don't have a quarterback. The defense was really good. They just need a better coach. Raheem Morris has head coaching experience, but it was 12 years ago. He's still a young coach. He came from the Rams. Brought in Zach Robinson as offense coordinator. Great move because Robinson was the Rams passing game coordinator. And we know that we like that. I think the biggest thing we're going to see here is that we're going to see the Sean McVay simple offense. Now, you might say Sean McVay's offense is simple. No, it's not so simple. It is, though. In terms of using the best weapons all the time, it is simple. The top 3 wide receivers in the offense playing 90 to 100% of the snaps. There is usually one running back who plays most of the time, and then the other is a backup. They have a tight end. Usually one tight end plays most of the snaps. It's very simple. It's not complicated. Drake London, it works, but it's not crazy. Drake London is the biggest winner to me because he'll play the real 90 to 100% snap share. He'll be the clear number 1 target and get the usage typical of top wide receivers in the Rams style. If you could get, Drake London is a more physically talented player than Robert Woods. And Robert Woods was a borderline wide receiver 1 in this offense. So they just need the quarterback. If they could get Kirk Cousins to run this offense, I'd be so excited. We'll see what they can do. As for Bijan Robinson, the Rams style prefers a back that can do it all. Raheem Morris, I think, is going to focus on getting a running game going. I think he's going to see that Bijan Robinson is a lot better than Tyler Algier and get Bijan Robinson the ball. Kyle Pitts, we'll see. I don't know about Kyle Pitts. We'll see what happens. Oddly, though, Raheem Morris, I think, is my second favorite hire after Jim Harbaugh, who's by far my first favorite. Next one, Mike Macdonald. Interesting. 36 years old, very young. Ravens defensive coordinator. I honestly don't think we know much about Mike Macdonald. He has no track record on offense. He hasn't even hired an offensive coordinator as I'm recording this. Jury's still out. I think the main thing is not that Mike Macdonald is their head coach. It's that Pete Carroll is not their head coach. So what does that mean? It means Tyler Lockett, I think, is finally going to get phased out of the offense. I think Tyler Lockett was one of these things where Pete Carroll, what I've noticed is he's loyal to a fault to these veterans who are maybe not as good as they once were, but he he's a big fan of continuing to play the veterans, even when they're a little bit over the hill. So I do think Tyler Lockett's going to be phased out. But other than that, I don't really know anything about Mike Macdonald and who he's going to hire on offense. So the one thing I will say is it doesn't seem like it's going to be a great offense. They're going to stick with Geno Smith, who's below average quarterback, more than likely. They have Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I mean, they have one of the, if you count both running backs, that's a top 10 backfield in terms of talent easily. Because they have two guys who are starters in my eyes. And then just I'm a little worried about DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Are they going to get involved enough? So I'm not super hyped about this for fantasy football. For real life, I love this hire. He's obviously a genius. And we saw with the Ravens scheme what he did. So absolutely deserving for a real life hire. But for fantasy football, I'm not super into it. Now, here's one where, last one, unfortunately, we're ending on a bad note because this one is not good for fantasy and this one's not good for real life either. Dan Quinn, Commanders, this is a disaster on every level. A disaster. They obviously wanted Ben Johnson to be their head coach. They can say they didn't. Their second choice was Mike Macdonald, who went to the Seahawks instead. Dan Quinn is just what they had. A defensive coordinator who, as a head coach, doesn't hack it and isn't good enough. Now Ron Rivera. We're doing this again. Failed as a head coach last time. The last 3 seasons, we saw that the game had kind of passed him by. He's good as a defensive coordinator. Maybe even great. But as a head coach, I don't think so. I don't think Dan Quinn as a head coach is going to work. First choice for offensive coordinator is Cliff Kingsbury. That's going to go wonderfully. The new ownership group, a lot of bad things came out of about them with the Ben Johnson situation. Bobby Slowick spurned them to go back to the Texans. Macdonald wasn't interested. So, yeah, people are not lining up for this job. And I think we're going to be having another coaching discussion about the Commanders in a year. I have no interest in these retreads who just kind of didn't do it for me the first time. It's not like Raheem Morris. That was, 12 years ago. Dan Quinn's head coaching was like 3-4 years ago. I don't think I need to see it again. I think I've seen enough. I'm good on Dan Quinn. This is not going to go well. And if they hire Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator, you can take Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and throw them in the garbage can. It's going to be a disaster. So this is probably the worst coaching hire of the cycle. And I have nothing good to say. Nothing good to say about Dan Quinn. As a head coach, defensive coordinator, good at that. But head coach, I don't like this hire at all. Hope you enjoyed this video. Very different from my usual fare. I usually spend most of my time on player takes, but I hope you like this. As always, we're doing Dynasty buys, sells, and stashes. This is my main content. We're going to have Dynasty rookie content on the channel. Dynasty trade videos, people like that. I'm going to get people together for another mock draft, and we'll break it down. So I have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. And then we'll start covering free agency over the next month as we move into that part of the year. But as always, if you like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Check out the Patreon for all my Dynasty and rookie rankings at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace out.